Hi banjo lovers! Today we are going to talk all about the left hand. We've talked a lot about the right hand in my other videos, but I really want to kind of do a deep dive into preparing your left hand to play. So the first thing that I'm going to tell you to do in preparing your left hand to play with the banjo is to take away your banjo. I know, it seems counterintuitive, but this is actually really important. One of the things that we need to kind of understand is when we're messing with our left hand and thinking about it and checking it out, trying to figure out what is going to be the most advantageous position for the hand. Now, there are people that will say there's a right way and a wrong way. I'm just not going to use that vernacular. I'm just going to say that there is a way that will be more ergonomical and help prevent injury when you play, and there's a way that you will injure yourself. So the way that I'm going to kind of walk you through is a way that you can, for yourself, find a very advantageous position for your left hand. So a couple of principles. Whenever we are dealing with the left hand, the first thing I tell people to do is to drop your arm down by your side and just take a look at it, and if you just bend at the elbow and bring your arm up, it's going to look like this. You know, everybody's hand is slightly different. You're kind of, like I said, everybody's going to kind of have a little slightly different position, but this is the basic idea. So again, you drop your hand, bend at the elbow without changing your hand at all, and up we go. You'll notice a couple things when you're in this position. You'll notice that your fingers are slightly curled. You'll notice that your wrist is straight. It's in alignment. That's what we want to watch out for. What we do not want is anything that's going to kind of turn our hand into this position, where you're going to have any kind of angle or break angle. What's happening there is there's the little tendons inside of your hand. You can kind of even see them when you're doing this. And they're going to be going over the little bone sheaths that are on the inside. Now, what happens with repetitive strain injury is when these little tendons are going over the sheaths kind of look like little V's, and the tendons kind of move through them. Over time, the tendons get inflamed, and as they get inflamed, they're going to brush and rub against the sides of the bone, and that is what's going to cause inflammation within your hand. This is why it's so vital and important to take breaks when you're playing. You want to take a break before you feel pain. If you do feel pain, you should stop, take a break, rest your hand. You've got to get the swelling down inside of your hand. Even the smallest little bit of discomfort, you know, people say like, you know, don't feel like you have to play through the pain. That's exactly right. You do not want to put pain into your practice. If you feel it, stop, take a break. Very important. So again, we're not looking for this. We do not want any kind of break angle like this. We want to keep our hand as much as we can in a natural aligned position. So you kind of see it here, I'm aligned. So I'm not looking for this. This again, we're moving the tendons over those bone sheets. It's not going to be great. Or here either. And you can see that my hand's a little extended. It's hard to kind of get to some things. Now, something to watch out for. We are going to get into certain positions where we're just going to have to compromise. Again, you don't want to put your hand into a disadvantageous position for very long. Maybe it's for one tiny passage. Maybe you practice getting into one position and then you practice getting out of it. But it's good to be aware of where those places are that you are going to have to compromise with your hand just before you begin. So things to think about. So please, you know, watch out for what's going on with your wrist. Be kind of like aware as you're playing. This is also just going to make you a better musician because you're just going to listen to your body a lot more. And with that, you're kind of practicing awareness of what's going on around you and not just focusing, you know, just on your banjo and playing. So again, another thing that we will tend to do is as we practice and we become more focused, we will tend to squeeze. You will tend to squeeze here. You'll tend to squeeze in your bicep. Watch out for that. As we concentrate and as we just kind of like, oh, I gotta get through this passage, you will tend to squeeze. Anytime that you feel tension, take a break. It's good to build in little breaks for yourself. Like let's say you've worked through a passage 3 times. Great, take a break. Just drop your hand. Relax it for a second. This will release the tension in your body, the tension in your hand, and it will help start to prevent some of those repetitive strain injuries that we do not want. Now, people talk about, you know, non-inflammation drugs. Of course, talk with your doctor if you are having issues with this continuously or with your teacher, but mostly want to try to get to a place where we prevent inflammation from happening as much as we can. Again, we're just looking for an advantageous position. All right, that's kind of my spiel on what is happening in the left hand. So let's bring back our banjo. My banjo is an open back banjo, which allows it to be a little bit lighter. So as I kind of go through this demonstration, if maybe your resonator sits on your body a little differently, that's okay. I've got some other videos that talk about positioning of the banjo. Again, we're just going to kind of focus on the left hand. So I'm just going to go ahead and take my clawhammer banjo and I am going to put it over my right leg while I kind of demonstrate some of these examples. Okay, So now that we've talked about wrist and alignment, kind of both ways, let's try to put it into play. So one of the first things that you want to do, and this is again going to maybe be feel a little crazy at first, is you want to just again drop your hand to the side, note that your natural position, bend your arm at the elbow, and just bring it up to the banjo. We're not going to press, we're just bringing your arm up to the banjo. And you're going to drop it. Try this again. Bend the elbow, so nice and relaxed, just bringing the arm up. What this is going to do is get you used to, as we put the arm towards the banjo neck, a relaxation point. Some people, when they go to learn the banjo, immediately like grab the banjo, try to start fretting things without ever really having a baseline. It's good to know what is your relaxation baseline. I do this sometimes when I'm warming up too, because I will hold tension and I won't realize it, so I'll just drop my hand and bring it back up here. And again, I'm just feeling for tension. So something else that you can do is, and when I'm doing this exercise, you'll see my thumb is on the back of my neck here. I will tap. So just kind of tapping the back of your neck will loosen up your hand. This is another good thing if ever I'm doing a passage and I feel like I'm clenching too hard, I'll kind of ask myself, can I tap with my thumb in the back of the banjo? Cool. Okay, now that you've got your baseline done, let's start doing some chords. A typical chord that a lot of banjo players will start with is a D7 chord. Now, my banjo is tuned to open G. You can go to any tuning you like. For this example, I will use open G and the chords are going to be built off of that. So first, let's start with the D7 chord. D7 chord consists of 2 notes, but we're going to just start with 1 to begin with. I'm going to take my middle finger. Now, when you are with the left hand, something you want to think about is, I have a little student that called these crab hands. We kind of do this in Suzuki guitar, we talk about it too. And you just want to kind of like, you want to embody like what that nice round feeling is going to be. I'll kind of show you here too. And you're just tapping your thumb to feel what it feels like. Nice and loose, that's what you want to do in your banjo. So I'm going to find the 3rd string. This will be string number 1, 2, 3. 5th string is always a tiny string, so just kind of get used to that. So here I am, string number 1, 2, 3. I'm going to find fret number 2. So these little pieces of metal here are what we call frets, and they are here to help you hold on the note in the banjo. Now, before I press, let's talk about frets. So again, you may see other banjo players do things differently. I'm just going to talk about things that have worked for me as I've been playing and through years of teaching. You will see some banjo players that might, position in the middle of the fret. That's not what we want to do. And again, I'm not pressing when I'm doing this exercise. I'm just merely laying my finger on the string and I'm kind of getting right behind the fret. You'll notice something. You can feel the fret as you go over, not pressing the string. You're just barely touching. You can feel it. So what we want to do is get to a place where you barely feel that fret and you're right behind the fret. In the video, it's going to kind of look I'm right on top of the fret, but I'm not. I'm right behind it. This is a principle I call snuggle fret. I don't know how to kind of know of a better name, and all my students have kind of come up with this, and I'm kind of using it. So what it is you're almost like, you're not in the middle of, between the 2 frets here. You are just merely snuggling up right behind that fret. That's going to be your spot. Now, again, for every banjo, it's going to be a little bit different. Sometimes your frets might be worn down, which make you, your magic spot be a little bit different, but we're going to experiment with this. So now that I've found this position, my snuggle fret position, I am going to do what I call a pressure test. I am going to first lay my finger onto the 3rd string, 1, 2, 3, 2nd fret, 1, 2. I don't have a 0 fret, sometimes you'll see those on banjos. This is called the nut here, so you'll just see my 1st fret is the 1st fret, not a 0 fret that would be near the nut. So again, I'm finding 1, 2, 3rd string, 2nd fret, and I'm just going to lay my finger on this. So again, I'm thinking like crab hands, I'm thinking nice, kind of, this orientation. As I'm doing this, you'll notice my wrist is straight. I am not doing this. I'm not bringing my thumb up here, which is going to kind of lead me to change my wrist angle a little bit. I'm kind of putting my thumb in the middle of the banjo here. Maybe just you can kind of see it here. It's a little bit further than the middle there. But again, I'm going for a straight wrist. Placing my finger on that position, I'm going to pluck. Now when I pluck, what is going to happen, you're going to get this sound. That is exactly what we're looking for. I'm just barely putting my finger onto the string, and I'm plucking my banjo with my right hand. What I'm going to do is I'm going to gently start to apply pressure. And again, I'm not on top of the fret. I'm not in the middle of these 2 frets. I'm snuggling right up behind it. As I start to apply pressure, you're going to get a buzz. So first we go from this thud tone to what we're going to call a buzz tone. There it is. We have a buzz tone. This buzzy tone, again, it's not something we're looking for, but this is important because if we press just slightly more than that, you're going to get a nice clear sound. I'm going to call that our bell tone. So nice and clear. That is as hard as you have to press. You do not have to press down to the wood. Again, we don't want to clench. We want to work smarter, not harder. We want to use the frets to our advantage. And we want to only press as hard as we need to. Because when the metal of the string contacts the metal of the fret, it's going to give us a direct connection, and that is what we're looking for. That's all we need. If you press harder than that, you risk, pulling your notes sharp or flat, kind of changing things. We want to go for just like minimal pressing that we have to do. This will also help you in the long run be faster. And if you're a seasoned banjo player who's used to pressing hard and maybe you want to start to press less, this is a great exercise. I still use it often because sometimes I will get into a situation where I'm, going through a passage, I'm feeling a little stressed, I'm really concentrating, and I will press way harder than I need to. So it's just kind of fun sometimes to have practices where you just kind of do this buzz test. So again, let's walk through it. So here's the thud. Fingers barely on it. I press a little more, I get a buzz. There's my buzz. A little further, just a little more pressure. I'm getting a nice ringing sound, and that's what I'm looking for. Cool. So that is the first finger of our chord. Let's do the second finger of the D7 chord. We're going to take our index finger, and we are going to put it on the 1, 2, second string, first fret. This is my D7 chord. Again, let's try the buzz test just to get used to it. Thudding. Got my buzz, a little more. There's my bell tone. That's what I'm looking for. Now, when I make the D7 chord, you will notice again, my wrist is not out here. My wrist is not this way. It's kind of in the middle. So what I'm going to urge you to do with all of these exercises is go too close to the neck, go too far away from the neck, and find that middle place where everything's going to relax. Again, we're going for the straightest wrist we can with minimal pressure. Some people, you'll notice, will bring their thumbs up higher. That's totally cool. What that does for me and my hand is it's going to kind of mess up my wrist here a little bit. So here my wrist is a little straighter. Right here we kind of get this. So again, check it out. Here I am. But we're going to just get this. Now you can kind of have it open. Some people will talk about cradling the banjo here with their hand. That's totally cool. That works for a lot of banjo players. For me, I just kind of like having a little more motion. So when I'm playing, I'm not like dragging my hand along the neck. Again, there's different solutions for everything. So experiment, check out other videos, see what works for your hand. Everybody's anatomy is different. You want to go with what works best for you. So now that I have my D7 chord here, I give it a great big strum. Nice. So what I'm gonna do is take a break. Let's explore our next chord. Let's do a C chord. C chord is going to cause our two fingers in the middle here to spread out a little more. Our middle finger and our ring finger. What's going to happen is I'm going to start with the middle finger. Again, I'm thinking about this like nice crab hand thing. I'm going to find the 1, 2, 3, 4th string, and I'm going to press there with my middle finger. So I'm on the 4th string, 2nd fret with my middle finger. I'm going to take my ring finger. I'm going to find the 1st string, 2nd fret, and I'll put that one there. I'm going to take my index finger, and I will be playing the 2nd string, 1st fret with my index finger. Now, you'll notice that my hand looks a little bit differently than when I was with the D7 chord. I had to adjust it just a little bit and kind of, fix my wrist here. And my thumb is a little bit higher, you'll notice, than it was before. This is just due to the spread of what this was. So here, my elbow's a little more out from my body. Here, I have to kind of bring my elbow a little bit more in to kind of get it to work. But again, you're seeing like, this is my C7 chord, different from the D7 to a C7. And also, I had to move my elbow from being a little like more towards my knees to back towards my back to kind of help me get the C chord in the right position. Awesome. Let's explore another chord that is usually hard for banjo players. Let's talk about the F chord. Everybody loves the F chord. I'm going to put my index finger on the 1st fret, 2nd string, middle finger on the 2nd fret, 3rd string. My ring finger is now going to go to the 3rd fret of the 4th string, you'll already notice something kind of has to happen. This finger is a little more curled to kind of get to that place. And I had to bring my elbow kind of a little closer towards the banjo to make this work. So again, I'm out here, I don't want to kind of be out here. I don't want to be contorting my wrist this way to be a little closer. Think about nice, loose wrist. Got my wrist nice in alignment here. My elbow is loose. Let's add in the very last finger. This is going to be our pinky, and it's going to go on the 1st string 3rd fret. Now, for some people, this can be very hard and feel very strange at first. So again, take breaks. I do have to bring my thumb up a little higher to kind of keep my wrist in alignment. So let's just go through all those 3 chords to kind of see what's happening. So first things first, I relax my hand. I'll bring it up. I get a D7. Kind of feel where your hand is. Let's move to a C chord. I had to adjust my hand a little bit. Let's move to the F chord. Awesome. Now you'll notice something. When I do the F chord, to get these 2 fingers in position, sometimes it's a good idea to position these 2, finger number 3 and finger number 4, and then lean back with these 2 fingers. So you don't want to be like perpendicular, because this is what will happen to your hand. It will hurt. You'll be in a weird position. Your wrist is going to be contorted. Think about getting these 2 down first, leaning back with this one. So I'm kind of on like this side of my fingertips there when I go to this F chord. Let's go back to C. Great. Again, if C feels weird, you can get these 2 fingers going first and then lean back with this one. Now let's move to that D7. And again, I'm kind of swinging my elbow here, tapping my thumb, keeping everything nice and loose. You can do this exercise without pressing the strings down all the way. You can just kind of get used to feeling like what it's going to feel like to move through the chord progression of your song, which is something I recommend. If you have to kind of like work on a chord progression, sometimes it's great to work on it without pressing first and just kind of get the motion down and then bring the pressing in. This will also save your hand some tension and some, tiredness too, because you're not having to press the whole time. So if you are a beginner and you're getting used to these chords, it is okay to not press and just get things into the right position. You will notice sometimes you have to stretch to get to certain chords, but I'll talk more about that in other videos. Just watch out for your wrist. Cool.